My name is Dessa, and I'm a rapper and a singer and a writer. And I live in Minneapolis, but I'm here in Iowa City today after having played a show at Gabe's for the Mission Creek Festival.
So this is something I like to ask new people that I meet, so we'll just start
Okay.
with it. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be and why?
Oh man, okay. I guess I haven't thought about that since I was 11, so I thought I had an answer, and then I realized that a weeping willow is not tight for a 32-year-old, where that might be totally like dreamy and romantic when you're 11. I like birch. There's something like kind of stately about the way that they come apart.
Okay.
That was deep.
Mm-hmm. That was very deep. Okay, I've got to ask. You've got the word kite in at least 8 of your songs.
Is it 8?
Yes, I counted. Is that
On purpose?
or is it just kind of...
It is, yeah. To me, it seems like an amazing, simple little machine, you know? Something that can get airborne on nothing, you know? Just paper and string, essentially. But the more Freudian answer is probably, my dad is a glider pilot. So my dad is like a professional kite. You know, like that's what he does for a living is kite. So when I was little, like the themes of flight, you know, were a big deal. My dad made a glider in our basement and then in our garage. It was supposed to take 18 months, and it took 7 years. And the process of him building a plane, you know, which sounds sort of crazy when you tell it to neighbors. And then like one day he wheels out this plane into the alley, and all the neighbors were like, you know, that's what that Wander family, like that's why the noise and the detritus and the debris and the constant banging in the garage is from. So I guess I do associate that with like a lot of childhood experiences, like learning how flight works and learning how to make motorless planes. Yeah.
Cool. So you mentioned your last name. How did you pick your stage name?
Wander is Greek for Dessa.
Oh, all right. That's awesome. And then...
I was singing illegally in a karaoke bar, and so, yeah, that was the name that I sang under.
Okay. Did it just start as Dessa and then you added Darling?
Mm-hmm. I think that was like, I was going to slam for the first time, and you needed 2 names. I was like, Dessa Darling, because someone had called my roommate that day named Gary Darling. And I thought, what a weird name. So I took his last name. And then I dropped it again like 4 years ago, so I just go by Dessa now. Yeah.
What's your most memorable fan story?
They're sad. You know, I write sad songs, and so, and I like sad songs as a music listener myself. But a lot of times you're connecting with people during rough times, you know? So I guess the letters that have like made some of the largest impacts are when people are dying. Yeah. Or when their loved ones are dying. There's been a couple like cancer patients who listen to the music when they're going through treatment and stuff. And obviously that makes a big impact on you.
So do you read all of your fan mail?
I think all of it. I bet there's maybe, I mean, I don't get horror. It's not like somebody comes in with a mailbag every day. You know, it's usually like every 2 weeks, 6 weeks, like here's a letter. Usually it's emails, you know? And I read all the emails that are sent to me.
What was the most difficult song to write and or finish?
Oh, I don't think I've ever been asked that. Working with Doomtree, it was a song called Last Call, and whenever anything is going really hard, all of Doomtree looks at me, and Cecil Otter, we wrote it together, and go, what is this, Last Call? Because it took like 9 months, you know, and I feel like every time I saw someone in Doomtree, they're like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, I'm writing a song called Last Call. I'm like, cool. You know, it's been almost a year of you saying that. My own personal song that was the slowest to come together was probably on my most recent record. I had a document for a song called Dear Marie, where it was a flow chart of like, if this is the first verse, this is how the story would unfold. If this, you know, if the third verse, however, is moved here, now we have a narrative that unfolds backwards. So I had a lot of like arrows on a Microsoft Word document with like, you know, color coding and stuff. So it took me a long time to commit to how I knew that one wanted to go. I think sometimes it's hard to know like, of all the potential ideas that you have that fit a theme, how much room there is, you know, because I think I could have written like 4 more verses to that song, but then the music's boring because you used it for 4, 5, or 6 minutes already, you know. So
Don't think I would have guessed that one.
Which one did?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Warsaw, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Something
that
with
one
lots
just sort
of
of
words.
fly out.
I heard that beat. Paper Tiger made it, and I thought, oh man, I would never rap on this. And then I was like, then I called him. I was like, can I have this beat? He was like, yes. And I think for that one, like, I was having a hard time initially, like, trying to come up with a story. And I was like, oh, maybe I just won't do a story. You know, maybe it's just like I thought of the Beatles song, he's got, I told him he's got the early warning. What is that song called? Who knows? Okay, it's a Beatles song, but it's, I feel like an idiot because I can't remember the name right now. But anyway, it's imagistic, you know, it doesn't, like, create a storyline. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll try to write a song like that.
I dig it. It's my favorite one.
Thanks.
What are you most proud of in your life?
I'm really proud of being a member of Doomtree. I was really glad to be asked in. Like, I was a big admirer of their work. And when I got, accepted, essentially, it felt like bigger than being accepted by colleges. It felt like this was something I really believed in, and the fact that they saw something in me to believe in felt really big.
Where do you want to go with your music?
I know I want to be a major cultural contributor, and I don't know what... I'm willing to do that any way it works. So if that means I make a lot of records and work really hard to distribute those records, if that means I have to travel a lot, if that means I have to lead a certain, kind of life like a reporters do. You know how they like go out and get their stories, If I've got to learn more things, I'm trying to study music. I was working on a music video yesterday and the director said, "Can you swim?" And I said, not now, but like I'll go to the Y, I'll take classes. So I don't know. I know what I want. I know where I want to land, and I don't know how to get there. But I know that when my band and I have an opportunity to play, let's say in front of 1,000 people, not everybody's gonna like it, of course, but we have a decent batting average. We get some every time. So I think my objective is to try to figure out as the leader of that band, like how to get us as many auditions, every year, every season, every month, every week as I can.
So do you just want to be heard? Do you want to change something?
Sure. I see what you're saying. And this is tough. I dance around this answer a little bit because I'm not like, the reason I write music is it's honey to put a pill in of feminism. You know what I mean? I'm not like out here with an agenda that's like, as long as I can learn how to move and manipulate people emotionally with music, I can further my political agenda. I mean, at some point it's like the purpose is the music, like the end is the means in this case. But I guess I'm driven by maybe a slightly irrational belief that true stories work, even if the person telling them doesn't know why. Like when I listen to someone who's authentically telling a story of their own life that had a meaningful, like, formative impact on them, if they're telling the truth, and I think you can tell when they're exaggerating, when they're doing it for effect, or they've told this too many times, they're sort of like stringing along. If they're telling it for real, they're telling it well, like, the truth will out. And so I feel like I don't have to say, hey, I'm a feminist explicitly in my songs. I think by value of talking about what my life is like as a woman, that men and women will be able to recognize some similarities there. And that's the base of feminism to begin with. There's a shared, like, humanity, and we all warrant respect, So I don't have to be like, and I'm a chick and I'm making 77 cents an hour, you're making, yeah. So I feel like the agenda is the music, is the true stories.
Okay. How does gender and or sexuality affect your music and your movement within the music industry?
Initially, I was so afraid that people would think like that I was exploiting, the fact that I was a young woman with a young woman's body, that I dressed like a boy for the first, 4 years of my performance career. I mean, it wasn't like cross-dressing hard, but I would wear men's clothing, so I wore like boxer shorts with like the top folded over, so you could see the little band, and like horrible rave pants that were like, size 17 or something, and just like big hoodies, But at some point I thought, man, if the music industry is determining the way you dress, in some ways you're being compensatory. You're trying to compensate for the standards is as stifling to your voice as it would be as if you were to adhere to the standards. You know what I mean? Like, to prove I wouldn't wear a swimsuit, I would wear a parka. Well, you're still not being your full authentic self. So I was like, okay, well, I think I'm still figuring out how to dress on stage. Like, breasts move around, and that's distracting, So you don't want it to detract from your work, but at the same time, I don't want to feel like I've got to eliminate sexuality if that's part of my gig as a human being. You don't want to feel like you have to totally eliminate that. I've never written a song about sex, but I think that's really hard to do well. I like a few songs about sex, but a lot of them maybe go, ugh. I'm just like, oh my God, like you're embarrassed for the person writing the song, sort of. Sex is hard to tell well. So I like the song, by Outkast, or by Andre 3000, Spread. That's a sexy song. There's not too many that do it well, though. So I would say still sorting it out, but I'm starting to kind of come back to a position that feels more central after having really banished all sexuality and really been like, I'm one of the dudes for a long time in the beginning of my career.
Pet peeves.
Irregardless. It's irrespective. I know that's so, like, bougie, but I don't like it. It drives me nuts. Orientate. It's orient. I know they're super nerdy.
So there are word things. Basically.
There are word things. Let's see. What else, though? I feel like living in a tour event, like I'm not too attached to any particular, like high-mannered conduct or anything, You end up sleeping and eating with people in rushes and who are half asleep all the time. Is that kind of stuff okay? But I also don't like when people are over-familiar. When people call you honey or babe, unless you're from the South or something and you're like a lovable grandma. I think I'm put on edge by that because I'm hypersensitive of like the sleaze factor that this business can sometimes have. Oh, I also hate when people say it was literally bouncing off the wall, like when people say something figurative, but then they preface it with literally. Mm-hmm. Cool, Dessa. Cool story. Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have any hidden talents?
I have to admit, if I have a talent, I'm usually pretty eager to share that talent. I'm like a little kid. I used to be able to hold my breath for a really long time. I can speak a little bit of Swedish. I think almost, no. For a while there on tour, we had a really long tour. We wanted to stay fit. We brought a jump rope. I feel like I could take on the Olympic team of China. That's not true. But for a while there, like one of the DJs and I, we did a little act where I would jump rope, and then he would jump into the same jump rope, and then he would start to juggle. And it was awesome.
Whoa! Do you have that on film?
We do, yeah.
I want to see that. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Do you have any tattoos?
No tattoos. I'm blank. Yeah.
Blank forever?
I don't think so. Yeah. I keep kind of landing on something that I like, and then I've gone in twice to try to get tattooed, but I pick bad places that a lot of tattoo. Like I wanted to get something really nice in the bottoms of my feet, but the ink falls out, so they wouldn't do it. And then I was like, on my face, and they're like, "Do you have any other tattoos?" I was like, "No," and they're like, "Go home," or nobody's gonna do that. So I was like, "Okay."
Pictures or words?
Words.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, words.
When do you do your best writing? Is there a certain time of day?
Probably at night, but okay, real talk. The 4 days before my period hits, like I can feel that something in my brain changes, and I feel sad, and I also feel hypersensitive to the world around me. Like I see connections that otherwise I don't see. Like metaphors come a lot more easily. So yeah, for me it's like cyclical in that sense that I can feel there's a chemical change, and all of a sudden when metaphors start happening, when you pop a bag of popcorn, how it starts. I feel like usually there's a few pops most of my life, but then all of a sudden it really starts to go on, and I try to make yourself available to it. Clear your calendar to the event, the table, and like have a pen on hand, that kind of thing.
So when you're writing, when you're coming up with the next sentence or the next word, is it something that you feel, or do you see the words written in your head?
Do you see
hear
words
them?
written in your head?
I do see them.
God,
Yeah.
I always believe you guys 90%. Like, I want to see what you mean by see. Like, how C
Like it looks like a typewriter for me. Like words will pop up and like.
Yeah.
So how do you formulate? It just kind of.
Let's see, how does it happen? I mean, I'd say there's two distinct ways. One of them is when it feels, when the popcorn bag thing is happening. Those happen in phrases usually.
Okay.
And then when it's time to write a song, very often I'll just have to reference all those little phrases that appeared. And now it's time to, like, in a much more patient and deliberative way, stitch those together to make a lyric. So that's a slower, very rational, heady, process. Whereas the generation of those feels more kind of autonomic. Yeah.
Do you have a strange dream to share?
This isn't that strange, but I was teasing myself earlier today that, like, on the road, it's just so stupid. But everybody, we always sit in the same spots in the van, and I would say every 2 hours someone panics that they've left their phone or their wallet. And it's amazing how you can lose your phone and your wallet even though you occupy only, you know what I mean, like 2 feet to your left or right and 2 feet back and forth. But if someone would go, hang on, I know it's here, and then you just wait because they're going to find it. Or every once in a great while, you have to turn the van around and go back to whatever city you came from, or like call the hotel and handle stuff. And oh my God, is there any? I didn't want to tell the band because I was so embarrassed, but I left my wallet sitting. We were in Washington State, and I left it sitting on the hand dryer in a restroom at a coffee shop, and I was like, okay, so let's just think about what the consequences are. All the hotels are in my name. I don't have an ID. Like, called the coffee shop, their number had been disconnected. I looked to find the owner of that coffee shop on Facebook, like, there are all these messages. And then we just happened to be routing through, like, 3 days later, So I was able to retrieve it. But nightmares about losing my phone and my wallet on tour, I would say I spent an hour and a half of last night, like, dreaming that I had my phone in my hands, even though I didn't have my phone in my hands. So, super stupid.
What's your first memory of music?
Probably either a lullaby that my mom sang called Nani Nonando, or my dad liked playing classical guitar. He was a classical guitarist, and he would practice in the sewing room of our house, so probably listening to him play. Yeah.
That's cool. What's your favorite instrument?
Probably the voice. But barring that, I like acoustic. I like string. I like cellos and violas a lot. I think I'm over violins are too high.
What makes you keep going in an industry that isn't
It hates
too
me.
easy?
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was just. I don't know. I just feel like some people have brown eyes and some people have. I don't know. Some people like broccoli, and I just feel like I've had this ambition ever since I was little. I don't feel like I mean, you learn discipline, but I didn't learn the ambition. I don't know where that came from. I've just always had it.
What advice would you give to young artists?
Keep your overhead low. That if you can learn to live inexpensively, you don't have to spend as many of your hours at work, which means you can spend more of your hours practicing your craft.
What's your most embarrassing moment?
I'm not going to tell you that. No way. I'm telling my most embarrassing moment on TV. Forget it. Yeah, no way.
An embarrassing moment?
Okay, sure. Yes. An embarrassing moment. Okay, an embarrassing moment happened yesterday at the show when I jumped into the crowd. I got a really tough song, and I hit my elbow on somebody, and then my elbow, channeled that force up, and I smashed my inside of my upper lip, and I bled through the whole song, and I was trying to, like, hide it while I'm doing my very cool, sexy thing. I'm, like, inadvertently wiping blood off of my face.
So now I want to do rapid fire.
Yep.
So just
Do it.
whatever.
Okay.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite musician as a child?
Michael Jackson.
Favorite song of yours?
Call for Ghost.
Favorite book?
I'm trying so hard to work with you and be fast, but I lied about my favorite color. I don't even like blue. This is rapid fire. Red is my favorite color. Okay, my favorite book is a collection of essays.
Favorite author?
Favorite author is Joanne Beard.
Favorite type of shoe?
Small heel, black, ankle lace. leather boot.
Best vacation.
India.
Favorite whiskey.
Inexpensive.
Favorite season.
Summer.
Favorite film.
Princess Bride.
Toilet paper roll, flap over, flap under.
Ooh, flap over. Are you kidding me right now? That's the thing. Don't waste my time. Yeah.
Left or right-handed?
Right.
Button shirts from top down or bottom up?
Oh, top down. Do people do it bottom up? Oh.
Oh yeah. Best possible Friday night plans.
Something, a cocktail with Benedictine, discovering an artist I hadn't heard of who moves me very much, and sex with someone I love.
Pants or shirt first while getting dressed?
Pants.
Cats or dogs?
Plants.
Have you been to a drag king or queen show?
Yes.
Which? Or both?
Only drag queen.
Favorite number?
3 is nice.
Do you date older or younger?
Generally older, currently younger.
Do you dream in first or third person?
First and a half. I feel like it's me, and sometimes I'm in my body, sometimes I'm not.
Would you rather be too cold or too hot?
Too hot. Very strong feelings on that one. Okay.
If you had to give up one of your senses, which would you give up?
That sucks. Smell.
Favorite food?
Sweet.
Favorite time of day?
10 p.m.
Most influential artist?
Or in the world.
On you.
On me, most influential artist would probably be Dave Eggers.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No, you do.
I do.
I can tell.
Sleeping, pajamas or nude?
Nude. Or, I mean, if you've been drinking, then just however you fell down.
Right. I think that's...
That was great. Good interview.
Cheers.
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 Awesome.